off last time, let me just run the program. We were able to get the meteors to rotate, which is perfect. Okay, everything else is working great. In this video, what we're going to do is we are actually going to improve our collisions. So let me just show you what I mean. I'm going to actually have them hit me, and it's a little bit hard to see, so you know what I'm going to do to make that easier? Let's just come down here, and I'm going to really slow down the speed there and slow down the speed there. So you don't have to do this because I'm going to change it back. Alright, so the meteors should be going a lot slower now. Now watch where they collide and look at the ship and see if it's a real collision. Okay, I'm going to run that again. Alright, and you'll see it's like a little bit off, right? So hold on, let's get a small one. Maybe it's better. That might be better. All right, so you see how it like ended the game, but it didn't even touch the ship. That's because right now we have rectangles around them. Okay, and to better show you that, here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna actually switch over here. Okay, and what we'll do with this is. So this is what all images have right now. When we use that self.rect, it creates a rectangle around the image, okay? But it doesn't always have to be that. We can actually create something, an image that has like a circle around it, okay? And what we can do is, it's a little bit hard to see here, so if we have both the ships, okay, if we were to fill in that rectangle, you see all of this extra space here that's not part of the ship. Well, that's what's being detected upon collision. And so when you have an asteroid, which is like an irregular shape, it's not like a nice perfect circle or square or triangle, right? It's jagged all over the place, but it still has to create a rectangle around it. And so when these spaces touch each other, even though it's not touching the ship, it's counted as a collision. But we can minimize that by creating like a circle around it. And I know it's a little bit hard to see here, but it is actually smaller and less areas being taken up by using a circle than if we were using this rectangle. Now this isn't true all the time. It depends on the image. And for our program, we're actually not going to use a circle around it, but we're going to minimize the circle to look something a little bit smaller. It'll be mostly inside of the ship. So there will be these extra pieces here that won't hit, but that might actually work better for our favor. It might make it seem like it's like right at the edge, you know, last minute avoidance of being hit by a meteor or something. All right, so how do we do that? First thing is, in order to draw a circle, we can use a method which we'll talk about later, but we have to know the radius, okay? And so we do that by doing the following. All right, so we discussed here, I think these were extra things that I had put in. I didn't want to really talk about that. All right, so the first thing is we're going to be using this method, okay? This is pygame.draw, and then this right here is the method right here, okay, circle. And I put these in green because this is the actual name that we'll be using, pygame.draw.circle, and these are the parameters that we need to fill in here. Okay, so we have to know the surface. That just means where do you want to draw the circle, right? And yes, you may think I just want to draw it to the screen, but we don't want to just draw it to the screen because it'll just have one circle somewhere wherever it is you place it on that screen forever. We wanted to draw the circle on the image so that as the image moves, that circle is plastered on that image and you can see it coming down. Okay. Next thing is the color. What kind of color do you want to fill it in? The center. Okay, remember that when we're drawing a circle, we're starting at the center. That's what's defined as the radius right there. We start at the center and then we figure out what the distance is between the center of the circle all the way to the outer points over here. Okay, and that's how we would find the radius. So in order to find the radius, we need to have the center. Okay, all right, so for our surface, that's going to be self.image. Our color that I'm going to choose is green. We have 5 colors there, so you can absolutely choose whatever you'd like. I'm using self.rect.center because remember right now there is a rectangle around this image, and so we are going to find the center of that rectangle. And then for the radius now, we actually don't have that defined, and so that's what we need to work on. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and just go back to this really quickly. Not that. What is it? 1 second. Okay, and we will draw first on our ship. so let's go here to self.rect, and we're gonna say self.radius. Okay. Now remember, the radius is the distance from the center all the way to the outside of the circle. So this is going to be self.rect.center, or actually not, I'm sorry, not center, not this. What we'll do is we will take the width. Okay, so we'll take the whole width of whatever it is, and we know that the radius is going to be half of that diameter, right? So we have a circle, the diameter goes from one end to the all the way to the other, passes through the middle. If we take half of that, that's going to be our radius. So we can divide that by 2. Okay. Now what's going to end up happening is that unless it's a perfectly, if it's a perfect whole number, then we're going to get floating numbers, decimals, and we don't really want that because the radius should be an integer just for our, I guess just to make it easier and more appealing for us to use. It would be more accurate if we're using floats, but we'll use ints for now. Okay, so we'll just transfer this to an int. This is going to throw the accuracy off a little bit, but not too much where it's going to be completely noticeable. Okay, and then right below that, we'll draw a circle. So PyGame.draw that circle. Okay. Now if you're using idle, you will see that it's going to pop up with this, which is fantastic. It tells you what it is that you need to fill in here. So our surface we said was going to be self.image. Okay, we're drawing it on the image of the ship. The color that I'm choosing is green. The position is going to be, where do we want this to start? Right there in the center. And then from the center, we will have a width. And from the width, we can draw the circle around the image. Okay, so self.radius. Perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and run this, and let's see what we have so far. So do you see that now the ship is being covered with a circle? Okay, so it's not that great. You can't really see it too well. What I'm going to do is we're going to copy this. So this self.radius and this PyGame.draw. I'm going to copy all of this. Okay. Now, ideally, what I should have done is I should have done all of this before we started rotating the images. And that would have been easier to see, but that's okay. And we're going to scroll down to the Meteor class. And then we can't put it here anymore. Let me just show you why, actually. If we were to put it here, nothing would happen. So you see, there's nothing happening there. The reason why is because we started to rotate them, which means that the new rectangle around the images, every single time that it rotates, right, we're actually creating a new image and having a whole new center over here. So this self.radius and these two lines of code, only because we already started to rotate the meteors, we need to put it here. Okay, and we need to put it where the last rectangle was created, which was over here. We created a new image of the rotated meteor. We made a rectangle around it. So right below that, we'll add this piece. Okay, make sure your indentations are okay. I know copying and pasting will throw off your indentations, so please be mindful of that. And if we were to go ahead and run this, let's see what we have. Okay, so you see all of that? That is definitely not cool at all. Okay, I don't even, it looks like a heartbeat. All right, so here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna actually close this off for a second, and we are going to come down here 1 second, and we're going to multiply this by 0.90. Okay, so although it looks like a heartbeat right now, and I'm actually not entirely sure what I did wrong there, so I have to check that up. The circle covered the entire meteor. Okay, now if you have an irregular shaped object, okay, when you draw a circle around it, you're going to be covering extra portions of that image that don't even have an image. All right, so we need to go back and do that, and then we'll make the top one also 0.90 times 0.90. All right, so now if we were to run this, here's what's gonna happen. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is, I'm not entirely sure where mine is like a heartbeat right now. I'm gonna actually just open up an extra one that I have. I know that I messed up somewhere. Alright, so let's try that over here. Okay, so this is the kind of the exact same thing that I was working on. Self.radius, and then we'll do PyGame. Okay, that's all good. And then, oops. Oh, okay, I understand what I did wrong, actually. You know what I did wrong? It was this part. Wow, that was a noob mistake. Is that I have my radius here, okay? The size of the image is never going to change in this case, so I need to take this off. The only thing that I had to do here was I had to draw the circle after the rectangle. So my radius is still going to come here, okay, because once we have the image uploaded, we take a rectangle around it, we'll take the radius. That radius is not going to change because the image is not getting bigger or smaller. It's the same image. It's just where we draw the circle is going to be changing, and that depends on how it's falling and where it currently is. Okay, so just to recap really quickly, all right, because I know this was a little bit of a mess. At the top, we are defining our radius, okay, all the time in the attributes, and we're going to draw the circle here, okay, because we only have one ship and the ship is just moving left to right. It's not rotating, it's not moving, we're not creating new objects of it. It's just a single ship, so it's okay to define that here. When we have the meteor, okay, we're defining our radius here, okay, because regardless of the image, if we have 9 meteors, we have 9 objects of that, and then each of those have a set size for the image. We take a radius of that image that stays constant, but where we draw the circle will change, okay, because since the image is rotating, okay, we are producing a new image, saving it here, creating a new rectangle for that image, okay, that was from the last video, and then we're going to draw a circle on top of that new image. So now when I go ahead and I run this, it should actually work perfectly fine. Okay, so see how now the circle is where we are, but here's the thing, is that even if I do that, watch what happens. You see how it still ended the program super early? Well, that now is because we need to come down and we need to go all the way down to where we wrote a note about if the meteors hit the ship. Okay, and we were using Sprite Collide. So I'm going to just open up the Sprite Collide place here. So pygame.sprite.sprite collide. And if you remember, it was analyzing the single sprite, which was our player, the group, which we created for all the meteors, do kill. Okay, this just means that if we had set this to true, that means that all the sprites there would be removed from the group. Ideally, it would be removed from the screen. We don't want that. Okay, and the last thing here that we didn't use. Okay, notice that we only have 3 parameters here, 3 arguments here. I'm sorry, and then we're missing this last one. Is collided. Okay, now there are a bunch of different things that you can use for collided. If you don't put anything there, it's naturally just going to use the rect attribute, but we can use now instead a circle. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the collide circle. Okay, so these are the different types of things that we can have here. We're going to use this collide circle, and if I just scroll down, you'll see that that's this piece right here. Okay, so it's going to be using the radius. Okay, it uses the radius attribute to draw the circle, and then uses that to determine if there's a collision. So in order to use this, you must have a self.radius. So we're gonna just put comma pygame.sprite.collide circle. All right. So this is going to enhance our collisions a little bit, not too much, but just a little bit. Okay, remember that we were still using ints, and so it's still gonna be a little less accurate, but you'll see that now it actually hits the ship before it ends the game, right? What you'll also see is that for the ship, the circle size is pretty accurate, but for the meteor, it's like a little bit inaccurate. So what we're gonna do is, let's just go up really quickly to the meteor, and you see what this radius is? I'm just gonna increase the size, just maybe by 0.95. I'll increase the size, and then for the ship, we'll just make it a little bit smaller, maybe like 0.85. You just gotta play around with this. It depends on the images that you're using. and the type of shape it is. Okay, so it's a little bit smaller here, it's a little bit bigger on the meteors, and when it collides, it's a little bit better. Okay, now you can choose to have these numbers if you want to use them, or you can edit them, and this is pretty good. I'm happy with that. So I'm gonna keep these here. And just because we obviously don't want to have those random circles there, what you can do is you can actually just comment this out, or if you want to just get rid of it altogether, you can just get rid of it. Okay, I'm gonna leave it commented out because just in the event that I want to come back to it, I just know that I just have to just take off this one little hashtag, okay, or pound button, or whatever they call it. And then down here, I'm just going to just comment this out. Okay, if the commenting bothers you and throws off your program, just delete it then. It's no big deal. And now if we go back and rerun this, what we'll see now is no circles. Okay, we can still shoot. No issues with that. Okay, and then now it will have good collisions. Okay, so once again, I'm just going to just run that really quickly, and you'll see that it looks like it's actually touching the ship before it dies, and that's what we want. So we'll just let this guy hit us, right? Bam. Okay, so that was a little bit off, but I'll probably just go back and just edit that a little bit. All right, so the last thing that I need to do is, if we didn't do this, that's good, but I need to put these back so that it looks like it's falling, right, faster. And I like to always check my stuff, make sure it's good. Okay, this is perfect collision, love it. So in the next video, we'll probably do scores, okay, because we don't have a score, and then we need to do explosions, okay, and there's a couple of things that we have to do.